In this video, I'm going to tell you what you should expect 1 week post-op from TLIF fusion surgery. I'm Clint Grimes, and if you want to know what happens to me in the first 6 weeks after surgery so you'll know what probably happens to you, subscribe and click on the notification bell so you won't miss anything. At the time I'm making this video, I'm 5 days post-op. Make sure you watch all the way to the end to see the must-have gadgets you'll need when you get home. This might sound obvious, but get someone to drop you off at the hospital. Due to COVID-19, you'll probably only be allowed to have one visitor while you're in the hospital, so pick the person who you think would be the most useful, not necessarily the person you like the best. The only thing of value that you need is your phone. You may want to bring clothes for leaving the hospital, or someone can drop them off when they visit. You also should have been fitted with a lumbar brace before going to the hospital. Definitely bring that with you. Once you've checked in at the hospital, they'll take you to pre-op. They'll put you in a hospital gown, they'll put a wristband on your wrist, and they'll start an IV and ask you to describe why you're in the hospital in your own words. The anesthesiologist and the nerve conduction specialist should come by and talk to you in pre-op and explain their role in the procedure. The last part of the surgery is the easiest. They'll wheel you into the operating room, check your wristband one more time, and ask if you're ready. After you say yes, you'll be out pretty quickly. Last week I showed you what my back looked like pre-op. Well, here's a quick look at what it looks like now. They put an artificial disc between the two vertebrae right here. I have 2 screws in L4 and L5 right here, and 2 titanium rods attaching each of the 2 vertebrae. There's also a carbon fiber cage used to restore the vertebrate height and assisted fusion. They also put demineralized bone putty over the hardware to promote bone growth. If you're like me, when you wake up, you'll feel like you've been asleep for about 5 minutes, even though I've been out for 5.5 hours. I've heard that many people get really bad nausea from the anesthesia. Fortunately, I'm not one of them. The day of surgery and the day after surgery, I was pretty loopy. I was taking a lot of painkillers as well as laxatives and blood thinners. The second day was a blur and I spent the bulk of it sleeping. The second day after surgery, I had a really bad problem peeing. They kept on giving me ultrasounds on my bladder and it wasn't draining, so I had to be catheterized 4 times, which was very, very painful. If I was torturing somebody, that's what I would do with them. The problem resolved itself, but I wasn't able to poop because of all the anesthesia and painkillers that had slowed down my system. I was afraid they weren't going to let me go home before I pooped. I was visited by a physical therapist in the hospital, and I was able to walk up a flight of stairs and down without a walker and about 250 feet around the hospital halls with the physical therapist. I was also visited by an occupational therapist. I practiced putting on socks and shoes and clothes. I used a sock aid to help me get my socks on, a long shoehorn, and a grabber. More on those in a minute. The most important thing I learned from the physical therapist was the log roll method to get in and out of bed. This is an important skill you must master after your surgery because there will be no bending, lifting, or twisting for at least 6 weeks after your surgery. At the end of the day, my pain was about a 4 or a 5. I took Percocet for back pain and then Tylenol twice during that day. I took Flexeril to relax my back. I also took Miralax and Senna in the hopes of getting my digestive tract flowing. Unfortunately, the pain relievers worked against the laxatives. Well, they decided to let me come home without having pooped yet, so that was great. And that problem resolved itself today, right before I started shooting. I was visited by a physical therapist at my home to make sure that my house was laid out safely. I started walking 3 times a day, starting with 5 minutes per walk and increasing the walks by a minute or 2 each day, and I'll do that every day until I see my surgeon on day 20. Now here are some must-have items that you're going to need when you get home. There are links to all but the back brace in the description. And first and most important is the lumbar brace, which I'm wearing right now. Here's a picture of it right here. And you'll be wearing that whenever you're sitting or standing and on your walks. And here, this odd looking piece of equipment, which you saw in my thumbnail, is a sock aid. and you put your sock over it and pull your sock up onto your foot and your leg and help you put your socks on. You're also going to need an extra long shoehorn. This is a 31-inch one. It's adjustable, but that way you can put your shoes on while you're standing up. And I highly recommend, if you have tie shoes, that you pre-tie them and keep them tied and then just slip your feet into them. And one very, very important item is your bath sponge on a stick so you can reach your feet. I have a step in my shower so I can put my foot on the step. You might not have one. You might want to get one of those little plastic steps, but you're definitely going to need one of these. I think there's a link in the description to like a 3-pack of these. And another handy dandy must-have is a reacher or a grabber, whatever you want to call it, to pick up stuff you drop on the ground. Oh, by the way, when you take that first bath, or that first shower after you get back from the hospital, it's going to be the most wonderful shower of your life. Like this video if you like it. And if you would like to see what recovery from spinal fusion is going to be like as I go through it over the next 6 weeks, subscribe and click on the notification bell so you won't miss the next post-op update. And click on this video to find out what you're going to have to do in the weeks before surgery. That's it. That's all. See you next week.